At this point, there's one thing that we can all agree on, and that is the fact that AI is gradually becoming a part and parcel of every single thing that we do, literally on a daily basis. Most companies out there have seen AI adoption, and it's constantly on the rise. Globally, we've actually increased our productivity as human beings by 15% according to Goldman Sachs. But there's one thing that you also need to know, and that is the fact that Goldman Sachs actually predicts that by 2045, that is 20 years from now, AI is going to replace at least 50% of the global workforce. And that is a dire situation that needs urgent attention. And that is why in today's video, I'm going to share the 7 AI skills that can help you to keep your job, consistently ensure that there's something coming in the future, and then more importantly, to protect yourself and your family against the ravages that may likely be caused as a result of this adoption of AI into our productive systems. And so if you're new here, my name is Nana. I hold a master's degree in business finance, and on this channel, we discuss everything personal finance and personal development. And no, if you're worried about AI and the existential threat that it might actually pose towards us in the near future, then you're not alone. For the past couple of months, I've actually sought to understand what is likely going to happen in the future. I've watched several long hours of interviews, including the Diary of a CEO, and the top-notch people or the experts, including the godfather of AI himself on the Diary of a CEO, couldn't tell what was likely going to happen with AI in the near future. And that is why it is necessary for us to consistently trying and find ways and means to actually roll with AI or go with the flow and not compete with it. So the best thing that you can do at this point is to be a co-pilot as compared to a competitor. You don't want to compete with AI. I remember a couple of months ago, I was actually opposed to AI and anything that it had to do because I felt like you were cheating the system. You've got to put in the hard work in order to become productive. However, I've come to realize that if you don't actually go with the flow and you do not ride with AI, you're going to be left behind. And that actually includes your job even having to be automated. And that is simply going to render you and your skills redundant. And so without further ado, we'll move straight to the skills and the things that you can do in order to remain relevant in the near future, even with AI automation. And so the first thing that you can actually do in order to avoid automation and being redundant in the near future is to learn how to build and then sell AI tools. So one of the key things that you can do in order to remain relevant in the near future is to try as much as possible to learn how to develop AI tools and then sell them to individuals and companies all alike. And anytime that I share this idea with people, including my friends, the only objection that comes up is the fact that I don't have any coding skills or probably any IT skills that will subsequently help me to develop these tools. One thing that you need to know is that with AI, everything is literally possible in that there are several apps out there like Replit or platforms that can help you to develop tools and then more importantly, even to help you with skills that may subsequently bring some form of income in the form of you having to become a freelancer on platforms like Upwork and Fiverr. So for instance, you can become a proofreader, and anytime that someone sends you a book or probably any post, what you can do is to simply post it in ChatGPT or Claude or DeepSeek or any other AI tool out there, and it would help you to refine that article to subsequently send it back to the person, and they can pay you in exchange for that. What you can also do is to actually build apps and then sell them to small and medium scale enterprises. Most companies actually want one thing, and that is to reduce cost, and that also ensures that they have enough profit left at the end of the month or probably at the end of the year to pursue their financial goals. And so what you need to know is that developing these apps will position you and then help you to earn more, thereby delivering value to these companies by way of automating several repetitive processes in their production process when it comes to producing and in the subsequent delivery of whatever service or goods that are into. And that also ensures that you actually become relevant in the future and your skills are actually protected against automation by AI altogether. This brings us to the second AI skill that you can actually harness, and that is the power of AI when it comes to trading and investing. So if you find yourself as an investor or probably in the insurance or the finance sector, according to Goldman Sachs, by 2030, that is 5 years from now, about 1 million jobs would actually be automated in the finance industry. And that is something that you actually have to sit down and then think about. So the best thing that you can do is to learn how to incorporate AI when it comes to making financial statement analysis and all of that that and helping shareholders or stakeholders to make informed decisions. If you're able to learn the power of AI and to incorporate it when it comes to making these decisions and choosing or probably even managing portfolios, if you're a portfolio manager or if you're a banker or whatever, learning and incorporating these AI skills into your work would actually make sure that you're not only actually protecting your job, but more importantly, your skills will still be relevant even in the turmoil or the likelihood of several people being actually let go simply because these companies feel like they're AI agents and they can perform or they can automate these skills or probably whatever you do at your job. And so the best thing that you can do at this point is to learn how to automate AI and to use it in your financial statement analysis and probably every single assigned duties that you may actually be executing and the responsibilities that you may have in whatever company that you find yourself in the finance and insurance industries. This brings us to the third AI skill, and that is AI video or voice cloning. So most people on social media platforms, they don't want to show their face, especially some content creators. And this is a time that you can actually learn how to try as much as possible to do voiceovers, of course, with AI, and then get several other systems that when it comes to production of these content, you can actually automate and probably get some gig out of that. So one of the key things that you can do is to learn how to convert, pictures or still images into thumbnails or attractive thumbnails that subsequently people would pay you for. Also, what you can do is to convert text to speech, which is very relevant because not most people out there can do some of these things. And so actually going on to learn these skills will subsequently make sure that you actually have some AI skills in the long run. And that can, to a larger extent, even save you at your day job, because once employers actually come to realize that you've got all these skills and it becomes much more easier for you to help them with their marketing campaigns and all of that, there's no point actually letting you go, because at that point you're an asset. And then as you go on subsequently to try and refine these skills, you may actually even list them on several freelancing apps out there and then also make some form of income aside your 9 to 5. This brings us to the fourth AI skill, and that is AI data analysis. So one of the key things that you need to know is that irrespective of how AI would actually go on to even deliver the data or probably generate the data and then subsequently compute the data and arrive at whatever decision, human beings would actually be needed in the process in order to ensure that that research is actually in line with several ethical considerations. And even on the greater level, even engineers who write the codes for several other AI agents would need some form of human interface when it comes to arriving at a decision from research. And several universities out there will need people to compute this data and then subsequently dissect them and then make it much more easier for them to understand and probably even to deliver value to students and stakeholders all alike. And so data analysis can never on any day be automated fully, in that it will still be relevant in the near future. And that is one of the skills that you may actually want to focus on and then learn in order to remain relevant in the near future. This brings us to the fifth skill, and that is AI-driven marketing. So for sales and marketing, I know so many people out there are actually, scared of that and they don't even want to engage in anything sales and marketing. But in the near future, it will become much more easier if you were actually to champion the skills of actually selling to people. And that is simply because most people out there wouldn't like to part ways with money to a machine. And that is something that I've personally experienced. Most people out there want to actually interact with a human being in that they want you to understand them from the emotional point of view. Of course, you may have to incorporate some form of AI in there simply because the AI will make it much more easier for you to come up with several ideas as to how to run your marketing campaigns and how to effectively and efficiently run a successful marketing campaign. However, people will still be looking up to that human interface in that they want to see people in there. They want to see people using services and goods, and that would also subsequently influence their decision to also part ways with money when it comes to purchasing those goods or their services, because it wouldn't make any sense for you to sit down, watch an AI using a service online or probably on the telly and then go on to part ways with money to patronize that service or that good. As opposed to that, what you want to do is that you want to see human beings actually using those goods and services or making recommendations based on past experiences that they've had with these goods and services. And that is what actually influences most people to actually go on to buy. And so at this point, what you have to do is to try as much as possible to learn how to sell, and then more importantly, to incorporate some form of AI and enhanced abilities in your sales and marketing campaigns altogether. This brings us to the sixth and the last skill, and that is content creation and AI content content repurposing. So if you don't want to be a content creator at this point, of course, there are several other important things that we can actually mention when it comes to content creation, like, personal brands and all of that. All those things will be relevant in the future. However, if you don't want to show your face on camera, or probably even start a channel or anything, or you're not even concerned about the influence or anything that you may bring on the table, there's one thing that you can also do, and that is to repurpose AI content. And what that simply means is that you take long form videos and then convert them into shorts for several other social media platforms like Instagram or probably TikTok. And so one key thing that you need to do is that you need to try as much as possible. That is, if you can create content, start creating content and build a massive following, because that will be a plus in the near future. Several brands would actually be chasing several content creators. Like we're seeing in this modern day and age, they're paying several hefty sums just to appear on several other platforms and people's pages, or probably even their channels. And so one key thing that you can do in order to protect yourself and to avoid being automated or becoming redundant in the near future is to start a channel, and that would actually serve as a plus or a competitive edge when the full automation of AI is actually rolled out. And that would also ensure that you're protected and secured when it comes to your finances. And so if you found value in this video, kindly smash the like button and then consider subscribing, because I'll be sharing several other insights on how AI is going to actually change the course of every single thing that we do, including our finances and our personal development on this channel. Thank you for spending time with us, and see you in the next video.